beautiful day for cutting the Pentagon budget. Every day is a beautiful day for cutting the Pentagon budget. And here we're going to start off with cutting the Pentagon. I think each square represents about maybe $80 billion. So when you have your little bite to eat, you will be eating a couple of $1 billion. So while you eat a bite, think of all the things that you would want to do with those billions of dollars, and that will give us inspiration to keep going and to keep working so that we can actually cut the Pentagon budget, right?
Yay!
Now,
just so you know, 4 the is right there. Does that matter?
No.
We want to do 4 the first?
So I think, Kelly, why don't you come up because you're 1DC, and this is really about one of the examples of the things that we could do with the Pentagon budget, which is to put it into helping people with housing, affordable housing, issues around homelessness. So maybe you could cut the cake for us.
Okay, wait 1 second. I'm going to bring it down. I want to spin it 1 time.
We're going to spin the Pentagon, and then we're going to levitate it.
Can somebody hold this? So this is the first piece.
Okay, this is for them. So you can cut it maybe like that. And does she want to say? And do you want to say anything as you cut this cake?
I mean, what an honor to be the first person to cut the budget.
Yeah, cut that Pentagon budget!
Now we can put it on.
No, you got to cut it in more pieces than
Right,
that.
so we'll cut it in each one, yeah. And then even in half again. Yes, excellent.
Now we can drop the pen in the Potomac River, right?
After that devastating attack on September 11th, where nearly 3,000 people died in the aftermath, then President George W. Bush, that's right, George W. Bush opportunistically used the grief, the rage, the anger, the frustration that people in this country felt seeing that attack and used it to manufacture consent for what became a campaign of never-ending war all across the globe. And that opportunism of George Bush playing upon people's vulnerability in that time made it difficult even in the movement. There were even some aspects of the peace movement that was critical of answer for organizing that soon after the attacks. And yet, 25,000 people came to Washington, D.C. to be a part of those anti-war and anti-imperialist demonstrations. And what that shows is that the American people, who are still in shock from the depth of this inhumanity, still had the clarity to say we are sick of wars being carried out in our name, but without our consent. This is what has guided the steps of the Answer Coalition and the anti-war movement in the time since. We've been running for a mighty long time, and we're not tired yet.
They spent $300 million per day for 20 years in Afghanistan, and that is not including all of the money that we give to Israel every single year. That was not including all of the money that we spent in covert operations in other places through the CIA. That's not including all the fucking money that we spend on our 800 military bases all across the world. That's not including none of that shit. $300 million per day to murder innocent children, to murder women, and then turn around and say that we should go back for women's rights? Are y'all fucking serious? we gave a fuck about women's rights, if we gave a fuck about human rights, we would have left them alone in the 80s, before we started training up the Mujahideen. We would have left them alone then. But here we are, yet again, America making a mess, and then trying to, for some reason, be the solution to that mess, only to profit and to benefit for these motherfucking corporations and for these military contractors that don't give a shit about us enough to not fucking pollute the earth. I don't know, or to not fucking, train our police officers to act the same fucking way in our streets. The same exact way we are policing the world, the same exact way the police officers are policing us here. We have to stop the global violence. We have to divest from global violence. We will no longer participate in shit that does not benefit us. They have been benefiting themselves for so long now. So it is time that we start to organize, that we stand up for each other and say, fuck no, that we are not going to do this shit anymore. If they can spend $300 million per day in Afghanistan, they can invest $20 billion to house everybody. Just a one-time investment. They can invest in a universal anti-racist healthcare system so black women like myself don't die on delivery tables. They can invest in that. They have the money for that.
Got money for war but can't feed the poor. We're fired up.
Can't take it no more.
Got money for war but can't feed the poor. We're fired up.
Can't take it no more.
Got money for war but can't feed the poor. We're fired up.
Can't take it no more.
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 We are raising up all of our partners that have already joined, and there's more than this, but this shows it's a big tent. It is about people, planet, peace, and the future. So it's everything that we need. We need to cut the Pentagon. It takes all of us. And we've got to make it so that the people are more powerful than the prophet. So it means talking to your friends, getting people involved, and staying engaged. We're at the beginning of something. Let's build something big and beautiful. And now let's march.